I'm going to start with something controversial. I don't care if God created us. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This movie is one of the best written movies of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The stakes were high, the morals were good, and the effects were believable. Normally, the Guardians of the Galaxy represent the light-hearted corner of the MCU, with lots of slapstick and other lowbrow humor. This movie completely broke that pattern. There are a few jokes, but mostly this movie is very serious and dark. The primary villain in this movie is the High Evolutionary, a variant of Kong the Conqueror. The High Evolutionary creates entire worlds in an effort to pursue perfection. One of his creations made for the purpose of understanding how to control the development of his products was Rocket Raccoon. Once he was done with Rocket and the other animals he made at the same time as Rocket, he set out to destroy them. Later, when he created his perfect race, he found out that they were less than perfect and destroyed the entire population of a planet. If we listen to the arguments behind a lot of Christian apologetic, we would be forced to conclude that the High Evolutionary was totally within his rights to destroy a planet of living, breathing, loving, thriving creatures just because he made them and they no longer pleased him. As their creator and owner, he had absolute authority over their destiny. This is because most Christian apologists use some form of the cosmological argument for God. They say that God made us, and therefore God can do whatever he wants with us. Wouldn't the same apply to the High Evolutionary, though? He made Counter-Earth and everything on it. Wouldn't that mean he's well within his rights to destroy it and everything on it? Isn't the High Evolutionary effectively the god of Counter-Earth? This is the part of modern American Calvinism that I have a problem with, the idea that God has the right to damn us to hell for no other reason than he made us. If God made us and then picks bad people for heaven and sends better people to hell, God is wrong. If I thought that God was doing that, even if I still thought he was wrong, I would say that he was wrong. The High Evolutionary has the power to make any of his creations live a life of luxury and ease. Instead, he destroys them. And that's wrong. He's not a god. He's a devil, feigning God's power for his own glory. One of the problems that I think modern apologetics suffers from is the perception that we believe in a God that is just like the High Evolutionary, except that he doesn't have a physical body. Whatever he tells us to do is okay because he's the one that made us. Whatever he does to us is okay because he made us. Whomever he saves is okay because he made us. Criticism of God is out of bounds just because he made us. Rocket criticizes his creator, and Rocket is the one in the right. Why, then, would it be wrong of us to criticize God? This is where I started. It isn't because he made us. Just as a thought experiment, imagine that Jesus really is God, but that he didn't make us. I say that he would still be above reproach. For the same reason that Rocket Raccoon owes his loyalty to Peter Quill and not the High Evolutionary. Peter Quill has done right by Rocket, taught Rocket to do right by others, and saved Rocket when the raccoon was in danger. Peter Quill is God to Rocket Raccoon despite coming into his life later, and the High Evolutionary was Satan to Rocket Raccoon despite having made him and shaped him from birth. The High Evolutionary becomes jealous when Rocket surpasses him in accomplishments. Jesus doesn't. Much to the contrary, Jesus says that we as followers will do greater things than he did without the slightest hint of concern about it. John 14 verse 12, that's what makes Christ God. He always does what's right, even when it's hard for everyone else. This is why I think that Christian apologists would do much better if they focused on the moral argument rather than the cosmological argument. To be clear, because I know someone will try to twist my words, I do believe that God created us, I just don't care. I don't think that gives God the right to hurt us for his own pleasure. The thing that gives God the right to hurt us for his own pleasure is what he is by virtue of the moral argument. He is the defining substrate for goodness. If God is enjoying torturing someone, it's because it is good to enjoy torturing them. They are the kind of person for whom regular rules of respect do not apply for some reason. When Peter Quill exposed the grotesque figure of the High Evolutionary, it was humiliating and demoralizing for the villain, and Peter enjoyed it. And it was just fine to enjoy exposing and humiliating such an evil person. If God is our creator, but not the moral substrate, then the moral substrate still decides what's right and wrong for God, the same as it decides that what's best for the High Evolutionary was disgrace and shame at the hands of his own creations and his enemies. This is why I've stopped depending on the cosmological arguments for God. I don't care if God made us. I care if God is moral. If God made us and he is morality itself, I will worship him. On the other hand, if the God of creation and the God of morality are different, I will worship and serve the God of morality. Which would you serve?